Hello everybody, it's me, it's Reggie Man, talking about Talai, finally. I'm sorry about the lame background footage and the enticing thumbnail. I need to get this video out, I need to get it out, and because it's stressing me the fuck out. I said out 3 times. Um, so yeah, this is Talai. So Talai is this little freak that I got way too invested in for some reason, and yeah. Yeah, now I'm talking about him. Okay, so as a baseline, Talai is a void entity. Oh my god, a void entity. Never heard of that before. They torture people. Wow, never heard of that before. But the gimmick with Talai is that they need to consume negative energy. Otherwise, they turn into whatever this is. And there is a much weaker form that I haven't drawn yet. It's just going to be like a blob on the ground with Talai's head, maybe the eye. But yeah, that's the premise. You can click off now. But for the 6 of you who stayed, alright, so I'm going to talk about Talai's world just a little bit. So there is 3 planes or realms in Talai's world. We're only going to see where all 3 of them intersect. So this is a Venn diagram. It's not really accurate. The void would surround it all, but the Venn diagram is the easiest to digest. So there are 3 planes in Talai's world. The material plane, which is identical to our world, same events, same rules. The ethereal plane, or the afterlife, gee whiz, I wonder what that is. And the abyssal plane, or as most call it, the void. Each plane has a purpose and a way to interact with the other. The material plane's purpose is to feed the void beings, feed them emotional energy. The void's purpose, or the void beings rather, is to protect their universe from other universes. In a society where we just love multiverse stuff, there is a lot of multiversal threats out there, so obviously you need some sort of guardians. And obviously the afterlife is just for mortal souls that they can be at peace, and eventually, after some time, their soul returns back to the earth and starts again. The void beings. There are 2 types. There is the positive void beings and the negative void beings. Talai is a negative void being. They consume negative emotional energy. If Talai was to consume positive energy, they would find it overwhelmingly disgusting and bitter. And that's his words, not mine. Actually, it's my words. I wrote it, but you get the gist. By the way, really fast, because it doesn't really matter. It's just so I can call Talai a cool thing. In this universe, there is a classification of void beings known as Titans. Titans are the strongest void beings. Talai is the strongest of all the void beings. Naturally, they are a Titan. And the only reason I made this classification is because calling somebody the Blight of the Titans sounds really cool. That's it. Moving on. So, obviously, there was a middle plane, if you've been paying attention. That is Talai's realm. But it was Limbo at one point. You got to Limbo by exuding both types of energy equally onto others. And you just kind of sat there for a little bit, thought about your life, and then when your soul was ready, you left. But there was really nothing to do. So it wasn't the peace of heaven and not the torture of hell. So, yeah. But now it's Talai's realm, and whoever was in Limbo during Talai's entrance, they got to be the test subjects. Those poor fucking things. Talai chose Limbo as their realm to torture people rather than the material plane because A, they could revive people because of the afterlife. B, those people could die because it's the material plane. They could be harmed. And C, they can chuck any souls into the void. Once a soul has produced all of their negative energy, they just get tossed into the void because Talai has no use for them. But Talai found this realm very interesting. Now, one question you might have would be, why doesn't Talai just go to the mortal realm and torture people there? Well, if Talai were to go to the material plane, they would be much weaker, as without a connection to the void at all, really, their energy would congeal extremely quickly, and they would be inoperable. They wouldn't be able to move. Alright, so now let's actually talk about Talai, 8 minutes in. So Talai, they are a negativity void being. And for about 13 billion years, there was nothing to do. It was just watching stars be formed, watching planets. It got really boring really quickly. There was barely any energy to consume. Negative energy would be produced when an asteroid hit a planet or something, but there was just nothing to do for their entire existence. And then one day, life started to sprout. Things got interesting. But Talai was still bored. But then along came the human race. The human race were so unbelievably cruel to each other and so hateful towards each other that Talai was able to rise to power so quickly. In the span of about 1 million years, Talai was able to go from a decently moderate void being to a titan in such a short amount of time for him. And Talai loved it for a time, but it got boring. You can only watch a man die so many ways and just say, wow, that's cool. So Talai was bored. And then, an event happened that I will explain in a comic, but it was mostly boredom. Talai eventually decided to travel to Limbo. Once Talai arrived in Limbo, they immediately noticed the fact that they were three-dimensional now, and they could lose energy, which is a new concept for Talai. And then Talai got this wonderful idea. They could wither and get as close as a void being could to die in this limbo realm. Talai loved this. It's like people who go skydiving. You could die at any moment if you go skydiving, but you don't. And that adds to the thrill of it. Plus, if you're torturing people, you get the best meal of your life. It's like skydiving while getting the best meal of your life. So obviously, Talai eventually started molding their world around this principle. So, as most EXE people are asked, and most of them don't really have a good answer, why did Talai choose Sonic the Hedgehog? Out of universe, it was both because I wanted my own EXE, and Sonic characters all have a unique flaw that I can write into. I'm going to go deeper into that in a Survivor video if I ever make one. I'll have like a Survivor overview, just so this video isn't as inflated as it already is. But Talai chose to use Sonic characters because A, it's more interesting than humans, as Talai has watched humans since their start. They've watched every human who's ever been tortured before the year 2005, so it's kind of boring just to do that again, because he's watched all of it. So Talai chooses to put you in a different body. You're confused. You're in an unfamiliar place. You're not even in your body anymore. And then that confusion is a negative emotion, which Talai finds appetizing. That's an appetizer for him. And then, you see Sonic at the end of the road, and you might recognize Sonic the Hedgehog, you might not. You walk up to him, and, the betrayal, the false sense of security. Talai loves breaking people like that. Talai loves manipulating people because it tastes good. It's weird to think about. Talai hits you, and then he's suddenly nourished. It's weird. And I'm getting off track. While we're talking about vessels, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the selection system. It's very simple. Your flaw chooses your character. I'm sure you could have guessed that. But like Knuckle, if you are very stubborn, you might get Knuckles. If you're a very unconfident in yourself, you might get Tails. If you are very arrogant, you might get Eggman, etc. I just wanted to mention that. It's kind of minor, but yeah. Talai's process for torturing people is they will mentally torture and then physically torture. And then once you cannot produce any more negative energy, you are tossed into the void. That's the gist of it, and it will be explored much deeper in the actual comics. So, you know, I have to create some intrigue. I can't just tell you everything. So, you gotta read the comic, man, to see the real depth of Talai's maliciousness. Maliciousness? Malice. Yeah, that sounds cool. So with that, that's kind of it, really. But there are a couple addendums, a few things that, just a bit of trivia that I couldn't really mention in the main video, and there is also one thing that I will not be doing in the story that I would like to describe. So I'm going to do that now. This is the thing that I do not want to describe. I've put the word on screen. All you need to know is that Talai will not be doing this in the comic whatsoever. Skip to this timestamp if you're sensitive about the topic, because I will be talking about it very briefly. Yeah, I'm going to do that now. So, Talai does not torture children. I want to make that very clear. Talai is very, very malicious and sadistic in their torture methods, and I do not feel comfortable writing a character that tortures children. Moreover, we'll just do a lore reason. Lore reason is that children have more positive energy. They just have so much joy and whimsy that it's bitters the negative energy, as well as there's no baggage to pull from. So Talai has a harder time, you know, just making them feel bad or guilty about things that they did in their past. And Talai doesn't like that. So when a mortal soul who is a child enters Talai's realm, Talai will morph into Enios. I think I said that right. It's this little classic design. I don't have an actual design, but this is the placeholder. It's going to look a little bit more friendly than this. And basically, Talai will just lead the child to the void and toss them in and be done with them. Um, I didn't want to do I didn't want to really explore child abuse in the story because it does not help the theme at all, and also I don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't think my writing skills could do it that kind of story justice, and that kind of story would really need to take a center stage type theme, which is not the theme I want to do. Also, I'm a victim of it, so yeah, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. If I had to write a character that abuses children, my stomach would crawl, and I would not want to write that at all. So we're not doing that. Okay. Okay. All right. Welcome back, my people who skipped to the timestamp. This guy is part of it. That's that's something you missed that will probably come up in like a spin-off comic or something. Anyways, I'm going to talk about certain questions that may be asked, and by questions may be asked, I mean my friends asked them, so here we go. So obviously there's going to be some little, little jackass who thinks it's really funny, to say, what is Talai's opinion on, a specific world leader or a historic event? Talai would just say, I don't care what you mortals get up to, or that was a truly horrific event, and it fed us really well. That's it. That's your answer to most historical events that Talai, because Talai has seen them, and yeah, Talai doesn't really have much of an opinion on them. A question that my buddy Luxy asked, are the vessels taken from different time periods? Not really. The vessels started being taken around 2005, so no medieval peasants or anything, and like I said, souls get transported back into the cycle, except for the ones tossed into the void, of course. So yeah, no medieval peasants or anything, because they would have lame deaths. Your best death as like a peasant in medieval times would be to get stabbed by a knight in battle. You would be a knight, not a peasant, but that's irrelevant. Yeah, but I wanted more creative deaths, and modern times, there's more creative deaths you can have, and they will be creative, I promise you. Another question that could be asked by some little dorkazoid loser that's in middle school. Does Talai get freaky? No. Talai finds love repulsive. As I said, positive emotions, Talai finds those repulsive. Talai believes sex to be beneath them, as it's a mortal practice, and void beings don't reproduce. Also, Talai has no reproductive organs anyway.
No dick, no balls, and probably no butthole since this guy feeds on radiation.
Could Talai consume Dark Gaia / some other character made of negativity? Yes. Dark Gaia would be a big battery for Talai. I had to look this up because somebody asked me about it, and yeah. Dark Gaia is made of negativity, so Talai could consume them. The Overlord from Ninjago, random jump, but they are described as a being that is created by, that is fueled by conflict. So Talai could probably eat the Overlord too. They couldn't beat him, but they could consume their energy. Yeah. Talai could probably beat the Overlord, maybe Dark Gaia. I don't know. I don't get into power scaling. Just know that Talai is weaker than X. That's all you need to know. There you go. What happens if a soul's gender does not match the vessel's gender? So if your flaw aligns with like Eggman or something, but you're a woman, well then you get female Eggman, Eggwoman. Yeah, it's just gender bend, pretty much. Actually, I did this with the two Metal Sonics. They're both Italian. I don't remember their names. I'm such a good creator, I don't remember my characters' names. But they're two Metal Sonics. One of them is a girl. One of them fit Metal Sonic, but Metal Sonic's a dude. If robots can have gender, so you know, it's Metal Sonic but purple. Yeah. This also applies to trans people because the gender of your soul is not always the gender of your body. So, you know, if it's like the Amy vessel from Soul of Sonic, if you know. Yeah. Talai is based. I'm sorry. Alright, finally we just have random trivia, things that I put fit into the video because, or I couldn't fit into the meat and potatoes of the video because it just didn't make sense at all to add that there. So here we go. Talai uses he, they pronouns. I know, that's so liberal of me. This is because Talai believes they are above gender. However, they don't get pressed because you think they're a dude because they're very masculine. So it's whatever, and they really don't fucking care. Talai's favorite human civilization is the Greeks. That's where they got their name from. However, they do like some of these South American civilizations, specifically the ones that, you know, sacrificed people and made their blood drip down the pyramids. Yeah. Take a guess why. Talai's favorite Sonic game is Sonic.exe because it tortures you. I'm kidding. It's Sonic Unleashed because they like Dark Gaia. Because they relate to Dark Gaia. Yeah. Talai's favorite dinosaur is Carcharodontosaurus because their teeth are serrated to tear through flesh, which would cause the most amount of pain. Also, Talai watched all the dinosaurs too. And Carcharodontosaurus just stood out to Talai. Despite Sonic Unleashed being Talai's favorite Sonic game, Talai's favorite Sonic stage is Metropolis Zone from Sonic 2. I don't need to explain myself. And lastly, we have scrapped ideas. These are some prototype designs for Talai. I don't like this Halo one because it's just eh. This one was going to be a good guy, but the story would have been basic, so I scrapped them. It was just going to be Sonic's story, but Sonic was a little more aggressive. This one is the closest to the current Talai. It has no story, but the design needed some improvements. And finally, this classic look was just kind of silly looking, although I did repurpose it. So I swapped it out for the modern Sonic, although Talai does take this form around children. And the last scrapped idea that I'm going to talk about is Theta and Zeta. They were originally Talai's spawn who ate flesh, but their mouth didn't make sense because they have Talai's mouth, so they would eat Talai's stuff. So I gave them more fleshy mouths. I still don't like them. Their inclusion is up in the air right now. I am definitely leaning towards scrapping them since they were included. There would just be too many different Sonics in the series. So the plan is either to scrap them or use their designs for something else. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's my call to action. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. There will be a comic that should have the first 3 chapters out by like April maybe. I still gotta learn how to shade. But yeah, that's the character description. Thanks to the 6 of you who watched through the whole thing. I urge you to ask a question in the comments, and if I get enough, I'll make a video answering them. Maybe in character. Probably not. I probably won't get enough questions, and yeah. That sucks, kind of. If this somehow gets any kind of traction, and you want Talai in some kind of project, DM me on Twitter or Bluesky. I'll leave a link in the description. That's it. Bye.
You two in a romantic relationship?
Oh, we are.
Ooh, love is in the air.
Yes, sir.
I brushed my teeth for so long last night, the toothbrush started to feel like a stranger in my mouth.